Hello everybody and welcome to Dynamic GT League's VW Supersport Championship, with round 1 coming from the Autodromo de Interlagos in Brazil, otherwise known as the Jose Carlos Pache circuit. Few changes to the regulations in this championship. For race 1 it will be a 15-minute qualifying session plus 3 minutes for the drivers to finish their last lap. Qualifying tyre wear will be on times 20. Races 2 to 9 will be in reverse championship grid order, while there's only going to be the racing super soft tyres available for the racers on times 3 tyre wear. Race length will still be 40 minutes with the boost still on weak, but the slipstream changed to real. That's going to make overtaking considerably harder. Tuning is also prohibited. Okay, let's take a look at the qualifying result for round 1 of the VW Supersport Championship. On pole position we have Steve F1, and joining him on the front row is Demon R, the 4-time champion. Row 2 will see SGP start alongside Tyler 2003. I didn't know that was going to rhyme. On row 3 is Fluffy Planet and Groover, two friends off the track, on the track. They absolutely hate each other. Row 4 is SRI alongside Twilight, formerly known as Silver Shadow, formerly known as Twilight. And on row 5 we have Dave the Harp alongside formerly Gary, while on row 6 is Lewis and Bunsell, and on row 7 we have Rich Blues. With a couple of drivers unavailable to race in round 1, chance for everybody else to bag some points. Let's head over to Brazil. So joining me on commentary today is SGP. How are you, Steve?
Not too bad.
Good stuff. We've got Steve F1 sitting on pole position. The lights go out and away we go for the first race of the VW Supersport Championship. And it looks like Steve F1 has had a brilliant start.
Yeah, with Demon R in his black and gold livery, trying to get around the outside. Now he's going to duck back up the inside, switch back. No, can't quite do it around the centre S's there.
Yeah, SGP all over the back of Demon R now as well. Tyler not too far behind. Looks like Demon R is going to have a look up the inside into turn 4. No, Steve F1's going to cover it off. It's going to go defensive. Could be a wise decision that. But Demon R's going to try and go all the way around the outside. I don't think Steve F1 was ready for that move, and SGP trying to follow him through.
He is. He's trying to squeeze Steve F1 out there and not let Tyler get a sniff up the inside either. But it looks like Steve F1 might keep the position. SGP, though, trying to force his way there a little bit, keeping it tight on the inside. Is SGP going to take the position? He's not got the inside for the next corner, though, but he's 2 by 2 at the moment, and I think he's going to be out of favour at the next apex, to be honest.
Well, he might be. He's up the inside though. Tyler hasn't got anywhere to go, but Steve F1 still fighting SGP. Little bit of contact between the two of them. Fluffy also sitting on the back of the leading 4 at the moment, as SGP and Steve F1 still side by side. Are they? No. Steve F1 manages to just about get ahead. Now in previous championships, heading onto the back, onto the main straight here in Brazil, we would have seen the likes of Steve F1 and the cars behind be able to get ever so close to the back of Demon R, but I'm not sure that's going to happen this time, Steve, with a weaker slipstream.
Yeah, well, it's called real slipstream, but it's slightly weaker than what we had previously, and it's just going to suck them together a little bit, but not quite as much as previous. As SGP there, so you can see he's not quite been able to benefit on the slipstream. Oh, Tyler, I think he got a bit of a nudge there that sent him across the corner.
Oh, if you knew he got a nudge, you'd done better than me, because I thought he just cut the corner. And no, he looked like he went wide, so he may have been nudged by Fluffy. But Fluffy Planet sitting in 5th place at the moment. Steve F1 has managed to hold off SGP in 2nd place, but these two cannot afford to let Demon R run away. Oh, looking at the pack in the background now though is that Groover running a little bit wide with Dave the Harp in the yellow car. And you'll notice, folks, that the drivers have not got their names above their cars anymore. They've got them on the cars.
Yeah, we can see Dave the Harp in his bright yellow car with his name on the side of it, Groover with his name on the side of it. Is that Lewis trying to go up the inside there? Now he's going to follow him through. Nice there from SRI. He's managed to get the inside of Lewis, and not necessarily the place that SRI is going to want to be, the inside of somebody, but you never know.
Well, yeah, with SRI, you never do know, and that's Bunsell trying to have a look at Lewis, but he's not going to be able to get around the outside there. So side by side, SRI and Lewis go into the downhill left-hander, which isn't quite flat out in these cars. Oh, it's getting ever so bunched up here, and this is where previous championships, this would turn into potentially 5 wide down into turn 1 with the slipstream, but Dave the Harp needs to try and pull away a little bit if he can. Oh, SRI could get boxed in here.
Yeah, but it looks like Lewis just missing out on a bit of slipstream there, going tight up the inside. But will that give him the advantage into the braking zone? I'm not so sure.
Dave the Arp covering it off by the looks of things. Yeah, manages to cover off Lewis and has closed the gap in on Formula Gary as Lewis runs wide through turn 2. You want to be careful out there. SRI is going to try and now close in on the back of his rival Dave the Arp, but Dave the Arp's got a decent run on Gary here. Is he going to have a look up the inside into turn 4? No, he's not.
No, and I can imagine what's going through Dave the Arp's mind right now. The front, car off in the background, that looks like Twilight. Twilight's back again with us, not Silver Shadow anymore. Yeah, I was just going to say, Dave the Arp's not going to want those front runners to get too far ahead. They're just starting to spread out a little bit up there, the first 4 cars, or 5, you could include Fluffy in that as well.
Yeah, a bit of a gap forming, and the pack forming here as well. Interestingly, I think Dave the Harp is trying to be a little bit cautious behind Formula Gary and get him out of shape. But the problem for Dave is he's got 5 cars right behind him, ready to pounce if he makes any kind of error. So he really needs to try and apply some pressure onto Gary if he can. Oh, Bunsell, he's ran a little bit wide. Oh, Lewis has just disappeared. He's gone.
Where's he gone?
I have no idea.
He's gone.
Yeah, he's not on the track, that's for certain. He was there and now he's not. Either that or the special energy drinks available at this race have really got to me, and I was hallucinating that he was there in the first place.
Maybe he wasn't. Okay, so looking at the the order at the moment. Oh, actually, Dave the Arp will be inside of SRI. Is that SRI trying to get around the outside of Dave the Arp more than anything? It looks like he might make it work, but he's got Gary up there as well. Bunsell sneaks through. How's he done that? How did Bunsell get through there?
I have absolutely no idea. I know Bunsell was giving SRI a bit of a bump draft down the main straight, which is not a bad idea this season. And yeah, he's now trying to give Dave the Arp a little bit of a bump draft. So maybe he caught SRI off guard into turn 1, but SRI's come back at him into turn 4. Groover also having a look at trying to make a move on Bunsell as well. And Rich Blues there in his Jamaican livery. This is frantic stuff. We've just seen Fluffy go past the camera. That's the gap that's forming from 5th to 6th.
Yeah, maybe we just need to stop the first 5 cars from racing and we'd have a really close racing league.
Yeah, that's true actually. I bet Gary would agree to that. Bunsell, he's going to have to tuck in behind Groover now. Oh no, he's not. He's going to slip up the inside of Groover. He's going to go for it.
He is, but where's that going to put him though in position for the next couple of corners? Might put him out of position as Groover there right up the inside. He'll be sniffing up SRI's rear gearbox. Not that he's got a front gearbox.
Well, you never know. You don't know what he's got up his kill. Bunsell, a little bit of lag from Bunsell there, and Groover covering the inside. To be honest though, I mean, we all know Bunsell likes to give a bit of a bump draft because it does help his speed down the straight. So if you're ahead of Bunsell, make sure you get a decent exit and let him bump draft you. But Dave the Harp, is he coming under pressure? Yes, he is. SRI one side, Groover on the other side. Bunsell in the background. He's decided to give Groover the bump draft, I think. Can't quite tell what's happened. No, Groover's into the barrier. I don't know if that was the result of the bump draft or not.
Yeah, I'm not so sure either. I heard contact there, and I'm wondering whether the bump draft just came at the braking point, but couldn't quite tell. But yeah, unfortunate for Groover there. But then again, he could have been braking on the grass a little bit as well, which we know it can spin you there big time. But Gary holding on to that 6th place at the moment as everyone's battling behind him.
Yeah, Bunsell was a little bit brave up the inside of Dave the Arp then. I'm not sure it was a legit move, but 2 by 2 they're going to go heading up towards turn 6. Dave the Arp's got the inside line. It's the better line if you're going to be side by side, but you've got to be careful on the exit. Rich Blues hanging it around the outside of Groover. Twilight in the mix as well, closing in on the back of Bunsell and SRI, and Dave the Arp has managed to hold on to his position. So Rich Blues, interesting livery for Rich Blues here today.
Is it?
No, it's exactly the same as the one he's always used.
Yeah. Just looking back at the leaders now, though, Demon R still got Steve F1 right behind him with the SGP following Steve, and then we've got Tyler and Fluffy, and there's definite gap there now between Fluffy, Planet, and Formula Gary. You can see on the track map in the top right-hand corner how much those front 5 have just spread away from this battling pack. 3 wide we've got now.
Yeah, and Gary is created a little bit of a gap here as we are 3 wide heading towards turn 1. Bunsell was going to make it 4 wide. That's not the best of ideas. Who's going to get around the corner? Dave the Art breaks late, and I don't blame him, but he's got the apex. Lovely driving from Dave. SRI holds on to the position. At least it didn't look like carnage, I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, we weren't necessarily expecting it. Oh, Twilight again a little bit wide there. We weren't necessarily expecting 4 wide, but we've seen it on one occasion already today. Right, SRI, they'll be inside of Dave the Arp. Is that one going to work? Dave the Arp going for the switchback. Is he going to get the inside? I don't think he's quite got the speed there to make it work, as we look back at the leaders now with Demon Art, Steve F1 and SGP.
You know what, Steve F1 has been closing the gap on Demon R up at the front there, so I'm wondering if Demon R's taken a little bit too much out of his tyres early on. Although looking at his lap times, he's been very consistent, 30.5, 30.6, 30.6, 30.9, so I don't think he's going any slower. I think Steve F1 is just pushing it a little bit quicker.
Yeah, and Tyler's still there or thereabouts with them. With the tyre wear we've got this season, Dave, what do we think was going to happen with the tyre strategies?
Well, it's an interesting one because the tyre wear is not very high. In the qualifying for this event, it was times 20 to put a lot of pressure on the drivers. But in the race, it's only times 3, and it's touch and go as to whether a 1-stop will work at a lot of races or whether the 2-stop will be quicker. So I think we could see anything from 1-stops, 2-stops or 3-stops, and it's going to take a few races as SRI has managed to get onto the back of Formula Gary here. Yeah, it's going to take a few races to really work out what's going to be the best of strategies. Formula Gary defending the inside, and I don't blame him. Dave the Arps on the outside, a Bunsell in the background, but SRI is going to go all the way around the outside, is he? Or he's going to be slow into turn 2. Gary looking for the switchback. Is he going to go for another switchback? He's going to try, and this is where SRI is now going to have to defend down into turn 4.
He is going to have to defend, but he'll be taking a big sigh of relief at that slipstream is unreal and not what it was last season, because it's not going to give Gary that extra bit of speed to just drive by. And there we go. Oh, a little bit of contact on the exit, but it's Gary that's suffered.
Oh, into the barrier. You know what? SRI gave him plenty of room in the corner there. It was good driving from SRI. I think Formula Gary just got a little bit too eager, coming off the brakes too soon and understeered too much into SRI there and resulted in sliding into the barrier. But Dave the Art being opportunistic, slipping past SRI. A brilliant battle between all of these guys here at the moment. Gruber trying to get in the mix on this as well. Just to let you know, up at the front, Demon R still ahead of Steve F1, but only just. There we go, I mentioned it, only just. Now in previous championships, Steve, SGP, this is where we would have seen Steve F1 easily ahead before turn 1.
Yeah, I mean the slipstream there would have normally just meant drive-by, but as you can see, it is there. It's getting closer and closer, and it's probably going to be worth about 2 or 3 tenths down that straight, rather than probably what would have been worth a second worth of extra lap time when you're slipstreaming somebody previously. I think it's just going to mean that the racing is not going to be quite as manic, and you're going to really have to work for an overtake, try and get somebody out of shape and really put pressure on them to make a mistake, to make an overtake, rather than just, yep, I'm coming past you because I'm behind you, which, I don't know, it's not quite racing, that, for me, that isn't.
The interesting thing as well, you mentioned about the tyre wear as the pack is still fighting Twilight alongside Groover. A little bit of contact between the two of them. SRI still ahead of Formula Gary, but Formula Gary's coming under a lot of pressure now. And this is where, I mean, these guys are getting sort of 3 wide on occasion. And to be honest, it's because if a driver takes a not so good line through one corner, they go slow. And the car behind gets to catch up, and then they go alongside. And then they're both slow, so the car behind then has the opportunity to get alongside. But to be honest, the best thing some of these guys could do would be to just focus on driving on the racing line, and they'd all go faster. So yeah, it's interesting to see how this is going to pan out. Also with the tyre wear, it'll be interesting to see what happens when somebody on brand new tyres gets behind somebody on old tyres, because if the tyres can last a long time,
we're going to find out. We're going to find out, because Demon Art has just driven in the pits, so we're going to find out what it's like with somebody on new tyres behind somebody on old tyres.
Yeah, definitely. So Demon Art pitting, what, 12?
And Fluffy.
Yeah, and Fluffy Planet, who was sitting in 5th place. And I'm not surprised Fluffy's pitted there. He was in a bit of no man's land, so he might as well give it a go. And he should get out ahead of the pack, as we've got a couple of other drivers in the pack pitting as well, Rich Blues being one of them. Demon Art coming out of the pits. What position is he going to be in? He's going to come out in in 4th place, so not a big time loss there, and I've just bit my tongue.
Ouch! But that's a great time to pit if you can get out ahead of the cars that were in the pack there for Demon R, and that should give him a nice bit of an undercut on Steve F1 and SGP. Well, undercut, but he was driving ahead of them anyway, but you know what I mean, the pit stop.
Definitely. Fluffy Planet was able to get out ahead of the pack as well. So these guys, I mean, a couple of them, I said have pitted, but it's Rich Blues. He's further back. He's in the distance there, look. So these guys haven't pitted yet, so it'll be interesting to see what Rich Blues can do up against these guys who are on the older tyres. But yeah, I mean, this is where it's not easy at times for drivers to go, you know what, I'm just going to be a little bit more cautious. Sometimes drivers see a gap and go for it.
Yeah. Now, just talking about seeing that gap and going for it, we've got Steve F1 and SGP there, not pitting yet by the looks of it, and then we've got Tyler and Demo.
SGP is pitting. SGP is into the pits.
I was just waving. I got confused because I expected him to see him come past the camera. When Demon R catches up to the back of Tyler, which looks like he's doing it very soon, like, is he going to chuck it straight up the inside, or is he going to be better off just following him and looking after his tyres for a couple of laps? What do you think his thought process is going to be?
I think it depends. It depends on how it looks like Tyler's car is handling. If Tyler's car gets out of position, you pounce. But with Tyler being on the older tyres, it could potentially be easier for Demon R to get Tyler out of position, because if Tyler tries to defend now, he's going to be so slow through a corner.
Yep, and tell you what, Steve F1's not that far up the road. Now, Steve F1 yet to pit, Tyler yet to pit, Demon R has pitted. Is he going to be on for a 2-stop or a 1-stop? Can he make the tyres go to the end from here?
Oh, Tyler's run a little bit deep. I don't think you'll get to the end, to be honest. 25 minutes on the tyres may be asking a little bit too much. Demon R is getting Tyler to defend. Tyler's gone deep though. Demon R hugging that inside, and this is what I was on about with the worn tyres. Tyler is going to struggle, but Demon R isn't forcing the issue. He's just trying to put Tyler under pressure, and now he can focus on getting a good exit and see what the slipstream will do given how close he is. And you can tell he is gaining and gaining and gaining, but he's had to be so close to do it.
I mean, Demon R, if he's going to be doing a 2-stop strategy compared to, say, Tyler's 1-stop, Demon R needs to get a move on and get ahead of him to create the space for the next pit stop.
Yep, that he does. So Tyler defends the inside once again, but Demon R's going to go all the way around the outside of turn 1, and that's the benefit of the fresher tyre. I mean, I mentioned Demon R could have chucked it up the inside at any point on that previous lap, but choosing the optimal moment to do it has definitely benefited him. SGP, having come out of the pits, is sitting in 4th place. Decent gap to Fluffy, so Fluffy hasn't been able to gain too much at the moment.
No, but he's not losing anything to the cars behind, so he's probably going to be quite happy that he's got nobody right in front of him and no one right behind him. Like SRI, he's got cars in front, behind and to the side.
Yep, Dave the Harp looks like he's leading this pack. Yes, he is. Dave the Harp just ahead of Formula Gary, who's just ahead of Groover and SRI and Rich Blues and Bunsell and Twilight. I mean, I do like the fact that the pack is still there, and what is definitely going to be interesting, or is SRI trying to have a look up the inside of Groover? Is Groover going to cover it off? Yes, he is, but I think he's just hit the back of Formula Gary.
Yeah, I think SRI caught the back of Groover there as well, and SRI just making sure he didn't make any gains from that and let them drive off a little bit ahead of him.
It's so easy though, isn't it, Steve, to cover the inside of a corner to stop someone behind you trying to go for the move in that middle sector, and then it's so easy to just run into the back of a car ahead that's covering you off.
Yeah, or it's so easy to turn in when you think it's the right time to turn in, but somebody's gone for a move up the inside thinking you've left the door open.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Rich Blues all over the back of Formula Gary. No, he's not. He's all up alongside Formula Gary. Bunsell is there as well. Formula Gary's going for the pit lane.
Into the Groover it was, I think, into the pits.
I'm pretty sure it was Gary as well. Yeah, Gary is into the pits as well. So I think that's their first pit stop, you know. Oh, Rich Blues got ever so sideways just then. Now, Rich Blues did pit earlier on, so he is on slightly fresher tyres, but Bunsell is still trying to get past Twilight and SRI.
Oh, he's a bit out of shape though. He got a bit wobbly coming out of that corner, but he's got a good run on SRI. That is a good run on SRI and on Twilight. Now he's looking for a move up on Richard. Oh, a little bit twitchy on the mid corner there. I tell you, Brunsell, it looks like your car's on roller skates at the minute.
Aye, that it is. I mean, he's got a NASCAR livery. I'm just hoping it's got NASCAR strength bumpers, although they're not very strong, are they, really? But yeah, I was going to say that I am glad that there is still the situation of the pack, because one of the things that I would fear from the current regulations is that things could get spread a little bit too much. And what I would say is from 6th down, this is still the manic sort of DGT racing. However, it is not as manic as it would normally be. For example, the amount of times that these guys are able to get 3 or 4 wide is reduced massively, that's for certain.
Tyler's still not pitted, but we've got SGP that's managed to catch up to the back of him on his fresh tyres, and he's bringing Fluffy Planet with him.
Yeah, Tyler's losing quite a bit of lap time now on those older tyres, and Steve F1 still has not pitted either. Is SGP going to be able to attack Tyler down into turn 4? And this is the interesting thing about the potential different strategies, 1-stop, 2-stop. For SGP to make the 2-stop to work, with him pitting only a lap behind Demon R, he's got to get ahead of Tyler and create a little bit of a gap, because if he doesn't, when Tyler makes his stop and SGP makes his other stop, it could be costly for SGP. So yeah, it's definitely interesting that, I mean, SGP isn't just rocking past Tyler here.
No, it almost looks like he's biding his time and looking after his tyres, and it makes you wonder why he would be doing that. If he's going to be trying to do a 2-stop strategy, you want to get on with it and use those tyres if you're going to be doing a 2-stop strategy.
Yeah, definitely. So we're almost at halfway through the race. Steve F1 currently leading the way, has not pitted yet. Demon R, second place, has pitted. Tyler's in third, he has not stopped yet. SGP in fourth, he has stopped, and he's close enough for a decent run on Tyler. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see Tyler slide into the pit lane on this occasion. SGP is right up his rear wing, and yet Tyler is heading into the pits, so that'll free up SGP to try and close the gap on Demon R.
Yeah, and Steve F1 still not pitted. And the only thing I can think of here is now we've gone past the halfway point, is he wants the freshest tyres as possible towards the end of the race. But this is looking good for Fluffy, I must say.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I'm thinking that what Steve F1 may be doing is Tyler is coming out to the pits and Dave the Harp still leading the pack down into turn 1 as Rich Blues and Bunsell get side by side, and this may help Dave the Harp pull away. Actually, Tyler just showing him being he's behind Fluffy Planet, so Fluffy's in a good position at the moment, but probably got another stop to do. But yeah, this could help Dave the Harp. He needs to focus on hitting his braking points and maximising his own speed, ignoring those cars behind, because if they battle, he can pull away.
Yeah, but it's so difficult when you look in your mirrors and you just see 3 wide behind you. You just think, but the best thing to do, like say, stick to your racing line.
Demon R? Yeah, he's on the back of Steve F1, so Steve F1's tyres now getting a little bit old. But yeah, I'm thinking that Steve F1 saw Demon R pit and thought, you know what, I'm just going to go as long as I can here, because at the moment they've still got one more pit stop to do each.
Yeah, and Steve F1 should be the one making it next, which means he gets the bit of undercut on Demon R. Yeah,
definitely. So yeah, Steve F1 going for the pit lane. You know what, I think Demon R has followed him in. Yes, he has. So Demon R,
strange.
Yeah, covering Steve F1's strategy there.
Yeah, interesting that from Demon R, because you would think that his tyres would be fresh enough to do at least another 10 minutes maybe?
Well, why would he follow Steve F1 in there if his tyres can do another 10 minutes?
So he can put pressure on Steve F1 all the way to the end, is the only reason I can think of.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. I think Demon R is more than capable of getting his tyres to the end, so covering Steve F1 off there and making sure he gets 0 undercut on him is a wise move. So yeah, now we're nose to tail with for a run to the end. But SGP, he pitted a lap after Demon R last time, but I probably wouldn't expect him to pit again for another 4 or 5 minutes if he was going to do a 2-stop.
Yeah, I mean, you would normally go for about 13 minutes from the end of the race before you pit on a 2-stop strategy, so he's got a bit more time to go. And the thing is now, the position he's in, he wants to be pulling away from these two, but they've got the fresher tyres, so I can't see how he's going to open that gap up, but he's going to need to probably when he pits, try and catch back up again.
I was going to say, wouldn't he benefit from pitting now? Or, I mean, if he can't be trying to go to the end, can he? I mean, he's already been on these tyres for, what, 10 minutes?
Well, it would have meant, what, 25 minutes on the tyres if he'd have stayed on them? To the end. It's possible, and he did take his time when he came out of the pits with someone behind Tyler not pushing. It just depends on how long he can keep these two behind him, whether he can defend it for another 17 minutes. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you say it like that, it sounds a bit daft.
Yeah, but that's the nature of the regulations in this championship, and now we'll get a good sense of fresh tyres on fast drivers behind a fast driver on old tyres.
Yeah, and how canny can SGP be to keep them behind him? And I'm just looking on the track map, and I tell you what, Tyler, he's going to be sniffing, up the back of these three. There he is. He's not that far behind, and his tyres are just as fresh, pretty much, as Steve F1 and Demon R.
Yeah, and having said that, I mean, Fluffy Planet is still not that far behind Tyler. Now, if SGP's tyres are starting to wear a little bit, and interestingly, let's see, Steve F1's been doing most of his lap times in the 131s. His latest one was a 130. But yeah, it'll be in the middle sector that SGP's tyres will hurt the most. That's where he'll have the least amount of grip in these slower corners in trying to get the car slowed down and around the corners as Steve F1 closes that gap in. But given the nature of this circuit, this is a track that you can defend very, very well around.
Yeah, I was just noticing Fluffy Planet must have just done a pit stop in the last lap because Tyler had come out behind him after Tyler's pit stop.
Okay, Steve F1 then, he should be close enough to have a look at attacking SGP here, down in towards turn 1, and this is where, as I've already mentioned, in the previous championships he'd have already been ahead by this point, and SGP would have been lining him up to come back at him, but Steve F1 is going to have to work at it. Around the outside he's going to go, SGP going defensive though, and manages to cover him off. This is what I'm on about, the nature of this track. If you defend properly, you can really keep cars behind you, because as you said, Steve, if you want to overtake in this championship, you're gonna have to work at it.
Yeah, I mean, previously that had just been a drive-by for Steve F1, and even though SGP's tyres probably can go to the end, he wouldn't have been able to do anything about him no matter how hard he tried to defend. So what we're probably going to see this championship is more attacking and more defending from a wise kind of point of view. You can't just go, yeah, I'm coming past. It's going to be needing to get him out of shape or needing to defend.
Yeah. So there we go.
And that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, SGP going defensive again. Steve F1 realising that he's going to have to try and take alternative lines, but he's going to have to be cautious of Demon R, who is there ready to pounce. I mean, to be honest, the best thing Demon R can do right now is let Steve F1 and SGP go for it and just sit back.
Well, yeah. I mean, if being in third place, he could literally just half throttle on some of these corners and really look after his tyres for those last couple of laps where he can make the most of it.
Yeah, definitely. Steve F1 not as close to SGP on this time around. But having said that, Demon R is all over the back of Steve F1, so this may be an opportunity for Demon R to have a look at attacking into turn 1, but I suppose it depends on what happens with Steve F1 and SGP into turn 1. Let's see, is SGP going to go defensive at all? Doesn't look like it. He knows he's got a big enough gap just, and that's one of the things I do like about this. With this level of slipstream, you know that they're not just going to be rocking up at the last moment with a massive amount of speed difference. Tyler really is closing that gap though to the back of Demon R. He could get himself in on this battle.
Yeah, next time we were on board with one of the first front three, we've got some moves going on here in the pack. What I was going to say is, when we're on board with one of the front three, have a look at the lap times, because I reckon the pace has dropped off at the front. Quite
possibly. Let's have a look. Demon R's been doing 31s and 30s. Always having a look at attacking Steve F1 into the middle sector. Can he get Steve F1 out of shape? Well, Steve F1's going defensive, so Demon R taking the wider entry to get a better line through the Bico de Pato.
You like the name of that one, don't you?
No, you do.
You just had to say it.
To be honest, I said it. I don't even think I said it on the right corner, to be honest.
Yeah. And what does it mean?
It's the duck's bill.
Yeah.
Okay, Demon R applying pressure to the back of Steve F1, and is Tyler gaining? Is he close? He is. Is he there? He's there.
You keep seeing him flashing in the background, so yeah, he's definitely there.
Ooh, Demon R's got a decent run on Steve F1 on this occasion, but to be fair, Steve F1 is close enough to get the benefit of the slipstream on SGP. SGP will have to go defensive on this occasion, and he is going defensive, hugging that inside line, but we're having a look at Demon R. He's decided to go around the outside as he knows up the inside of Steve F1. Side by side, there you go. That could give SGP a little bit of a breather. Steve F1 fends him off through turn 2, but now through turn 3, Demon R manages to slip through, and just look at how much that has benefited Tyler and allowed him to close the gap.
Yeah, he needs to make hay while he can here, while those front three are travelling a little bit slower and battling.
These guys are not taking it cautiously at all, though. It's definitely feisty in the pack. Ooh, you don't want to go in the middle of that gap. 3 wide through turn 2 is not a good idea here.
And when I see this pack, my brain just goes, what do I say? Because there's so much happening.
I mean, it definitely isn't as manic as previous championships, but I mean, let's have a look. Bunsel's going to lose time here in the middle and exit of the corner. Groover, he's running wide, but not as wide as Rich Blues, who hangs it all the way around the outside. So yeah, look at how much time Bunsel and Groover lost there compared to Dave the Heart by trying to battle and trying to go side by side. It's an interesting way to race, but we can see what's happened with the leading 3 or 4 with how they're going about the race.
Yeah, which is don't just try getting up alongside every possibility, because it will just reduce your speeds. But that pack racing looks amazing to be a part of. Tyler has closed that gap massively now. It's definitely going to be 4 for the lead soon.
Okay, Demon R trying to attack SGP then into turn 1. SGP didn't go defensive, realised he thinks he had enough of a gap, and Steve F1 still there. I mean, we know that Steve F1 and Demon R have got the same life tyres, but Demon R, he's taking his opportunity now to try and apply some pressure to SGP as they make their way down towards turn 4. And SGP, is he going defensive? He's kind of middle of the road in it, saying if you want to go for it, you're going to have to really go for it.
Yeah, he's definitely putting his car in a position where he's making the cars behind him realise that he's prepared to defend his up the inside there a little bit, but then returns to the racing line.
I thought he'd left the door open a little bit there, but now Steve F1 is closing in on the back of Demon R. I think Demon R is going to have to defend to Steve F1, and yeah, he is taking that tighter line, but now SGP comes under a little bit of pressure. He's going to have to be careful through the left-hander, who doesn't want to be losing any kind of speed through there, as Steve F1 close to the back of Demon R. Demon R having a look, but no, SGP closes the door.
Yeah, we've got 10 minutes left. If SGP is going to be pitting, it needs to be doing it soon, but I've got a feeling here he's just going to want to try and keep these 2 behind him for as long as possible. Well, and if you can do that to the end, why not?
Well, yeah, not only that, if you can do that until Tyler is on the back of Steve F1, or as Demon R runs a little bit wide, then if Tyler gets in on this fight as well, it could slow these guys down. But Steve F1, he's got a decent run on Demon R here.
Yep, so we've got SGP, Demon R, and Steve F1 right up the gearbox of Demon R. Could we have him in the move and overtake for second place here?
Well, he's going to slot into SGP's slipstream. Demon R having a look up the inside, or not really, just defending more than anything, I think. So
yeah. I can't even get my words out. It's just amazed me how interesting this racing is this season, even after just 3/4 of a race already. How close these 3 are running up at the front, it just amazes me. Just fun, isn't it?
Well, Demon R, he's gone for a bit of a switch back on SGP. SGP defending now into turn 6. Going to have the tighter line. He's going to have to really hold a tight line to defend into the next right-hander. But Demon R, he's switched to the outside. He's going to carry the speed. Go for a switch back. Steve F1's going to capitalise where he can. But Demon R's going to go round the outside of the left-hander. He's not going to be able to hold it out there, is he? You know what? I think he will. He's got up alongside SGP. SGP can't defend it, but he's going to try and slot in ahead of Steve F1, and he manages to do it.
Yeah, can SGP though fight back with Demon R, or is he going to still be looking in his mirrors and what's going on behind him? Because if he's looking forward, that's fine, but if he's busy looking in his mirrors, he's got problems for the rest of this race. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, we mentioned about the difference between brand new tyres and old tyres, and to be fair, SGP has held these guys up beautifully for what, a good 10 minutes there. Oh, SGP into the pits, so he's going to have 8 minutes on a brand new set of tyres. I wouldn't be surprised if he was simply thinking there he may have just become a sitting duck with how old and worn his tyres have become.
Yeah, it might also be a matter of trying to work out in his mind if he pits, can he get back to the position he's currently in, rather than going further back, which could be. Oh, was that Groover very wide there?
I think Dave the Art. I think Dave the Art was trying to sort of go a little slow there and sort of let everybody know that he was heading into the pit lane. So he definitely didn't want anybody up his left side. Let's put it that way. So it's still frantic in the pack. Bunsell with SRI around the outside of him. Groover with Gary around the outside of him. It's interesting stuff, that's for sure.
It is interesting. I mean, just Bunsell, left, right, doesn't know which way to go. Looks like he's going to go try and the inside. He's got Gary right up behind him as well. He's got the move done on SRI, bit of contact. Can SRI get back on the track?
Groover has a look up the inside of Gary. That's going to get tight. He's squeezing him a little bit. Gary's squeezing him a little bit more. It's a good job these cars have got plenty of grip.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely needed all four-wheel drive there while he had a couple of wheels on the grass, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so this is the battle for 6th place at the moment. I won't be surprised if most of these guys can get to the end on the tyres they are on. Dave the Harper's recently pitted and is catching them back up. Demon R, having got past SGP, is pulling away from Steve F1 a little bit now. Tyler comfortably sitting in 3rd place at the moment, but what can SGP do? Because he can see the cars ahead. Fluffy Planet sitting in 5th place. He's had one hell of a lonely race, hasn't he? All
he has,
by himself.
But I'm pretty sure he'd rather be there than in the middle of this pack, that's for sure.
Quite possibly. So Twilight leading the way then from 6th down as Bunsell and SRI go side by side once again. And SRI's kind of boxed in, there's nowhere to go. Everybody trying to attack and defend that inside line. Who's going to survive? SRI manages to get through just. Gary follows him through. Bunsell trying to slip through, but he gets knocked onto the grass, and Dave the Harp on his fresher tyres goes all the way around the inside of turn 3. A nice opportunistic overtake there from Dave the Harp. He needs to try and do exactly the same on Bunsell into turn 4 now, and then try and catch up to the back of Twilight, which he's doing. Nice move from Dave the Harp. Gary trying to follow him through, and he's just about managed to do that.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely... Oh, contact there. I don't know who that was, but it might have been Groover, because it was a bit of yellow on it, and there's Dave Arp still going. But car into the wall, that's for sure.
I think it was Groover and SRI, and you know what? Steve F1 has closed the gap into Demon R, so the fight for the victory is still on. What's the gap between Tyler and SGP? You know what? I think it's coming down a bit.
It definitely is. Also, it's the gap between Demon R and Steve F1's coming down.
I'm a little bit surprised though that Tyler, I'm wondering if he had a bit of an off somewhere, because he was right behind Steve F1 when SGP pitted, so I'm thinking he must have had a bit of an off given the gap that's between them now. Okay, Dave the Harp, he's now on the back of Twilight, going to try and maximise the use of his tyres here. Rich Blues is in there with pretty fresh tyres as well. Bunsell also having a look. Dave the Harp, is he going to have a look at the inside? Yes, he is. So he's kind of defending and attacking at the same time. Twilight sees that he's there, but he carries the speed around the outside of turn 1. But Dave the Harp's now going to carry the speed all the way through turn 3. Can he get the switch back? Look at how much he's gained on Twilight.
Yeah, looks like he'll be able to get alongside him before the breaking point for turn 4. It's side by side into turn 4. Dave backs out of it by a little bit. Oh, he's got contact there from Gary. That's unfortunate there. Dave the Harp was just trying to be a little bit cautious, and it bit him in the rear.
Well, you see, I've got to say, I think that's the car behind's fault there, to be honest. I mean, heading down to that corner, there was no way I could see anyone was going to have the opportunity to have a look up the inside of Dave. But as Dave gets to the apex, all of a sudden there's a car there. And I've got to say, some of the drivers are going to have to make sure that they don't mistake a gap for a dive bomb.
Yep. Because where do dive bombs belong?
In the pool, apparently.
In the pool, yep. Exactly. Rich Blues then right on the back of Twilight. Can Rich Blues do anything about this? It seems to be that every time somebody gets into 6th position, they start to struggle a little bit, but Twilight's managed to hang on to it for quite a number of laps at the moment. and it might be Rich Blues' turn just to try and take it off him.
It could well be. It really could well be. Let's see. So, well, Rich Blues is coming under pressure. Bunsell trying to slipstream SRI. SRI trying to slipstream Rich Blues. Dave the Harp there as well. So we're going to go 3 wide, are we? 4 wide? Now let's make it 5 into turn 1. How are they going to get through here? Now that I don't mind. 4, 5 wide, all slot into single file, looking after each other. Brilliant driving now. But what these drivers have got to be careful of is what happens down at turn 4. All Demon R's just ran a little bit wide, by the way. Steve F1 really close. Tyler's closed the gap, and SGP has really closed the gap in on Tyler. Fluffy not too far away, as we've only got just over 2 minutes of this race to go.
Wow, this race has gone by so quickly. Now, you were saying that we didn't, what would happen down at turn 4. I'll tell you what, they all went through it pretty cleanly, to be fair. Oh, Groover sideways, a bit of handbrake action there. Bunsell, can he get it up the inside of Rich? Has he got it? Yes, he's got his nose up the inside. Is he going to get the move done? Looks like he's got it done.
See, now that's a good overtake from Bunsell there. Managed to get his nose in the gap, and that's one of those that, yeah, that's on, go for it. What you don't want is someone coming from miles back. Rich having another look back at Bunsell. Bunsell closes the door. Groover is there as well as Dave the Harp, all sideways through the right-hander, and now all over the curb on the left-hander. Rich Blues, see now, Rich Blues and Bunsell, they're going to be slow through this corner. If Dave the Harp can get a decent exit, which he has done, he can get a decent run here.
Twilight off.
He's off into the barrier. Oh, it's disaster for him, but he's still going. So now Dave the Harp, where's Fluffy gone?
I have no idea what happened to Fluffy there, but it wasn't on the black stuff.
It almost looks like we've got somebody into the pitch, from the pack.
Why?
Oh, SGP's on Tyler.
He is. He's right on his gearbox, and I don't understand why somebody from the pack would have been into the pit lane on the last lap of the race. What probably will be the last lap of the race for the pack. But SGP, can he get this move done? I don't think it's going to happen quite there.
Well, he had a look up the inside and made a bit of contact with Tyler. I think he gave the position back to him there, but Tyler going defensive. Tyler is on tyres that have done 20 minutes. SGPs are only about 8 minutes old, and he's got a much better exit out of the corner, much more grip through the corner. Having a look up the left-hand side. Now the outside. Tyler not quite defending. I don't mind that. He's middle of the road-ish, but SGP. Oh, SGP's going to have a decent opportunity now because Tyler dipping a wheel on the gravel will have compromised his exit for sure.
Yeah, he's right in that couple of tenths behind where the slipstream does start to take effect. Can he get it up the inside though into turn 1, or will Tyler defend it? Looks like Tyler's half defended it.
Tyler's defending, covered it off. Just want to mention we've got 4 seconds until the timer gets to 0, and Fluffy is going to get to the line after the timer. So Fluffy's race is now over for 5th place, which means the pack are on their last bit of a straight as SGP is still trying to battle Tyler. So Demon R, Steve F1, Tyler, SGP still got to fight for the lead, and SGP chugs it up the inside into turn 4. Tyler trying to fight back as we look at the pack crossing the line, finishing the event for them. Let's see, Dave the Harp managed to finish in 6th with Groover 7th, but SGP manages to just about stay ahead of Tyler. But can Tyler do anything to fight back?
Well, if he's going to, he's going to have to try and make a move up the inside into one of these hairpins. Can't do it at the first one. What about the second one? No, there's no way there. And it's going to be difficult now for Tyler to come back because SGP's tyres are brand new.
Yeah, I think Tyler has pushed those tyres as much as he can. So Demon R, a bit of a gap to Steve F1. The last time these two raced around this track in a championship, Steve F1 beat Demon R by a hair's breadth. But it looks like on this occasion, Demon R is going to get his revenge and start in the VW Supersport Championship with a victory. So he's only got a kink left to go, and it will be a win for Demon R in Brazil. Steve F1 will finish 2nd place. SGP manages to recover to 3rd, and Tyler, a brilliant race for him to finish in 4th place.
Wow, what a race. And strategies. I just couldn't figure out there who was on what strategy and what was going to be the best strategy, and why did Demon R pit when he did early on and then follow Steve F1 into the pits. I mean, the only one that had, or 2 drivers that had a half sensible strategy was Tyler and Steve F1 pitting on 20 minutes. Yeah, halfway point, we'll pit. And but yeah, great racing though, I must say, throughout the whole field.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned throughout the race, the settings are going to provide a very different style of championship, I think, and in a way, I think we've had a bit of an insight into perhaps why the DGT League admins have decided to give the reverse championship grid order another go this time around. Because, I mean, Demon R, Steve F1, SGP and Tyler and Fluffy to a degree were able to pull out a bit of a gap, and we kind of had two races going on. You throw in a reverse grid in there, a championship reverse grid order in there, and it's still not going to be easy to overtake. So the likes of Demon R, Steve F1, SGP and so on, that I don't think we're going to see them blitzing through the field like we did in the last championship.
No, and when you think about it, you've got, out of that top 5, you're going to have Tyler trying to overtake Fluffy, while SGP is trying to overtake Tyler, while Steve F1's trying to overtake SGP, while Demon R's trying to overtake all of them.
Yeah.
It just makes you wonder whether those drivers that are starting at the back of the grid are actually going to get to the front within the 40-minute race.
Yeah.
And I'm actually looking forward to finding that out next race.
Yeah, so am I, to be fair, so am I. I mean, I do find it interesting that the pack was still there. I definitely would suggest to I'd still put the suggestion out there that perhaps sometimes drivers have to realise that when there's a space, it doesn't mean the door's open. So, yeah.
I mean, it looked like in one of the situations there, Dave the Hart was thinking, I think it was Twilight that was in front of him. I'm not going to go for an overtake on you here. I'm going to try and slot him behind you, go for the switchback, get a better run out of the corner.
Yeah.
But because he backed out of the overtake, someone's gone, oh, space up the inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was where Dave the Hart was about to put his car.
But the thing is, in that situation, the car behind has come from too far behind and gone, oh, there's space there. And that's where drivers just have to be a little more conscious of what the cars ahead are doing, because it helps everybody go faster. I mean, because that's the thing for me, is what can you do that can make you go faster? And chucking it up the inside isn't what make you go faster. Getting out of a corner in the fastest possible way is what makes you go faster. And so in that situation, that's what Dave the Art was trying to do. Twilight was covering the inside, he's going to have a slower exit. Dave the Hart positions his car to get a fast exit, and he'd have attempted the overtake up into the next corner. And car comes in from behind, a little too fast, a little too far back, makes contact, the car from behind ends up going slower, Dave the Harp ends up going off the track, and the cars behind end up getting in on the battle, and then everybody goes slower. So that's kind of like where I'm not saying that nobody should overtake anybody at any time, I'm just saying I know the way that Demon R races, which is, okay, what are the cars in front doing, and what can I do to make sure that I get them through the corner as fast as possible without hitting them. Yeah. Anyway, so quick look at I was going to say quick look at the race result, but to be honest, I'll do that in a moment. I'm just wondering if there's sort of anything that you want to mention from that race, Steve, about any particular drivers. I mean, Tyler, he's had a cracking race there, he's unlucky.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler, for me, is the shock of the race. Last season, I don't know whether it was the car didn't suit him, but I think he's probably surprised himself that he's jumped in and done some practice with us and realised he's bang on the pace. And before we actually did the qualifying for that session in the practice, just moments before, he set the fastest lap out of everybody in the lobby, in the race lobby. It was the only one in the it was the first one to break into the 129s. And it was right on the pace, but it just makes you wonder when you see how his tyres are. Or not necessarily when you see how his tyres are, but he dropped off from Demon R and Steve F1 towards the end a little bit. They were able to just make their tyres last for the full 20 minutes, whereas Tyler's tyres just seem to not be able to hold that same pace. Now, why it is, I don't know, but there must be some part of his driving style It's just making his tyres suffer that little bit. But in qualifying, or before the race in practice, whatever he was doing was able to give him a good lap time.
Yeah.
But it's damaging his tyres a little bit.
Yeah, I do think you're on the right track there, because when we went into the qualifying session, obviously we were practicing on ×3 tyre wear. Went into the qualifying session which had ×20 tyre wear, which meant that you had to look after your tyres on the out lap and then go for it for one lap. And if you pushed it too hard in turn 1, 2 and 3 and 4, you would suffer a loss of grip by the end of the lap. So the final corner you'd be slow through. So and unfortunately Tyler wasn't able to replicate the lap time that he'd done. So I do think that it may have been that he was pushing the car a lot through turns 1, 2 and 3, which the lower tyre wear could handle and give a really fast lap time. But in qualifying, pushing the tyres that hard through turns 1, 2 and 3 killed them for the final part of the lap. Now in the race it was much better for him until it got to a point where the tyres were like, we just can't do that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about a driver, not necessarily Tyler, but a driver with that sort of trait in their driving where they damage the tyres that little bit more than others around him. This particular season might suit a driver like that, doing a 2-stop rather than a 1-stop, because they should be able to benefit. And I think, as we saw with De Minar's first pit stop, which was around about the 10 minutes sort of period, or maybe just after, he was able to come out just behind Tyler. I think Tyler probably would have just about had enough gap to come out behind, in front of the pack as well. So I think if Tyler was to look back at the race, or if somebody with bad tyre wear was to look back at the race and think, if I'd have done the strategy a little bit different, could I have benefited from it? And just because the tyres will do 20 minutes or 25 minutes doesn't necessarily mean you should run them for 25 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. And the next track, which is Dragon Trail Seaside, I do know a few of the guys have done a bit of practice around there already, and I mean, from what I've been hearing, there's quite a drop off on the tyres from about 15 minutes to 20 minutes, so new tyres could benefit massively around that track.
But not only that, the pit lane loss time is so small, it's worth pitting the extra time.
Yeah, but the only thing is, with the reverse championship grid order, you could find yourself in traffic. So the next race is really potentially going to show what the rest of this championship could be like. Definitely.
Yeah. The next race at Dragon Trail Seaside for me is going to be the one that makes everybody go, wow, this is going to be an amazing season, because it's going to be the one where you could have somebody like Fluffy that gets the break away from the faster guys behind him and is able to pull a gap. Or maybe somebody like Twilight, who is starting further up the grid, who can get a bit of a break away while there's a bit of a battle happening behind him. Like we saw with Jason a few races ago last season, when he got his maiden win. He was able to get that win because he was able to break away from the pack, because he was starting near the front in that particular race.
I mean, mentioning that, I believe the DGT League have brought in a new rule regarding drivers on 0 points.
Yeah, I was just going to clarify. Is that a word? Clarify a few things that are a little bit different going into the next race. There was a notice put out before the season started. Basically, it reads as follows: reverse championship order grid. If you haven't scored any championship points, you will start from the back of the reverse championship order grid events. So, Jason, who was unable to attend, when he makes his next race, whichever race he gets to, because I know he's busy quite a few Thursdays, unfortunately he will be starting from the back, not from pole, because he's on 0 points. He'll be starting from the back. Same with Con Reese. Lewis, for whatever reason, he didn't manage to complete the race. He didn't score any championship points, so he'll be starting from the back. Just to clarify as well, that if somebody gets penalised and receives a penalty which takes away their points, if that puts them onto 0 points, we won't double penalise them by putting them to the back. So, as an example, if there's been a report from this race and somebody's earned 3 points and then we take 3 points back off them, they would still start in the grid slot, not from the back of the race, because that would be double penalised.
So because they had scored points, even though they've been taken away, they'd still be classified as they had scored points. But for those that either didn't get to the end of the race or were unable to race this week, instead of them coming in and starting on pole at the next event they do, they would have to start from the back, which I must admit I do think it is fair as well, because it would stop anybody taking advantage of the ruling, so to speak.
Just want to clarify.
Well, I was going to say, it also means that if somebody, for example, did happen to score 3 points and had those 3 points removed, they don't get rewarded with pole position.
Exactly. But just to clarify something on the penalty points, the admins this season have tweaked the penalty point system a little bit. Previously, it was -5 points for a minor incident and -3 for a minor and -5 for a severe, and a race ban for deliberate or unsportsmanlike behaviour. We've revised that this season. For a minor incident, it's -5, so it's a bit harsher, and for a severe, it's -7. For a deliberate or revenge incident, it's a race ban. But if a race ban was to be issued at the last race of the season, that race ban is converted into a -10 points off their championship points. Then some people might think those points are quite harsh. They're meant to be harsh because they're there as a deterrent. Now, what I will say is, minor incidents, you can avoid receiving the -5 point penalty by giving a place back safely during the race.
Any place?
The place that, basically the same rule as previous. If you've crashed into somebody, you give the place back to that person where you're able to, in a safe place, in a safe manner. Which we do tend to see drivers do quite a lot, and that's why in this league we don't tend to see too many steward reports. Now I've said that, you're going to tell me there was loads.
Yep. No, I don't know. I'll find out in a moment when my assistant hands me a piece of paper. Okay, I think it is time to have a look then at the confirmed race result for round 1 of the VW Supersport. I'm sure it comes as no surprise of Demon R taking the victory here in the maximum 20 points. Steve F1 finished in 2nd place with SGP 3rd, Tyler 4th and Fluffy Planet a brilliant 5th. Dave the Harp managed to survive the pack and finish 6th, with Groover 7th, Rich Blues 8th place, he's making that 8th place his own. And then in 9th we've got Philip Schofield. In 10th we've got formerly Gary, in 11th we've got Bunsell, in 12th we've got SRI, and in 13th, unfortunately with a DNF, was Lewis. As I mentioned, there were a couple of drivers missing for round 1, and hopefully they'll be back for round 2. As we've mentioned, the grid order for the next race will be in reverse championship standings order, although Lewis won't start from the front being on 0 points, which means SRI could be on pole position. So let's take a look at the championship standings then, and oh surprise surprise, it's exactly the same as the race finishing order, given that it is round 1. What I will mention is, though, from what I can gather, there were no reports placed after the event, which means either drivers were not too offended by anything that happened on the track, or they've dealt with it personally, which is always good to see. Although it is always recommended for any driver that does knock off a driver off the track or hits them to get past, wait for that other driver to come back past you. Allow them to have their position. Okay, time to bring this to an end for round 1. Make sure you join us for round 2 from the Dragon Trail Seaside with the dangerous bus stop style chicane, where absolutely anything can happen. Anything can happen. You need balls to go around that track, but all of the ones that I've got are not crystal, so I don't know what's going to happen. Make sure you join us for that. Have a good one, folks, and we'll see you all again soon.